Welcome to the DOGE Diaries, diving deep into government efficiency. So, Trump's back in the White House, and this transition, lightning fast, completely different from 2016. Remember the chaos?
Oh yeah? Total circus. This time, he's surprisingly efficient. Palm Beach, cabinet picks flying out left and right, almost like he's got a plan.
Right? 2-year window, his allies are saying. Control of Congress, gotta move fast. Get those appointees confirmed ASAP. Makes you wonder if it's speed over, other qualifications.
Well, some of those picks are raising eyebrows. Gates, Hegseth, McMahon, each with their own baggage. And the conflicting ideologies. Lutnick and Besant on tariffs, Rubio and Gabbard on foreign policy. It's a diverse team, let's say.
Definitely diverse. And Kennedy Jr. at Health and Human Services? That's a curveball even for Trump. Make America healthy again, he says. With RFK Jr., I'm intrigued, I guess. It's like he's assembled a team of rivals. Maybe he thrives on that friction.
Maybe. But is friction what we need right now? Trump's advisors say it's all about loyalty. People he trusts, people who won't leak, people who'll deliver his massive shakeup. Sounds like he's prioritizing loyalty over experience or expertise.
Yeah, and those are supposed to be the keys to making the government efficient? I'm not entirely sold. Senate Republicans are being pressured to fall in line. The American people gave him a mandate, they say. But a mandate for what exactly?
Yeah, right. To appoint Hegseth and McMahon? I'm not sure that's what voters had in mind. It's like they're prioritizing speed over scrutiny. And what about those FBI background checks he's skipping? That's concerning, to say the least.
For sure, they're saying the public doesn't care. But I think they should. Conflicts of interest, potential vulnerabilities to foreign influence, these things matter. And Trump's own business entanglements? Still unresolved. It's a recipe for trouble, isn't it?
Absolutely. And now he's threatening tariffs. Canada, Mexico, China, right out of the gate. It's like he wants a trade war. Significant change of pace, one lobbyist called it. Sounds like an understatement. So DOGE, right? Musk and Ramaswamy, they want to slash regulations, cut spending. Ambitious, to say the least.
Hugely ambitious. $500 billion in spending cuts? Where exactly? They're targeting programs like the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, international organizations, Planned Parenthood. Relatively small potatoes compared to the overall budget.
Yeah, they talk a big game about cutting the deficit, streamlining agencies, making government more efficient. But the details are fuzzy. It's all very vague. And the legal hurdles? Unwinding regulations isn't easy. I'm skeptical. It sounds good on paper, but I have my doubts.
I hear you. The idea of streamlining government, reducing waste, improving efficiency, it's appealing. Who wouldn't want that? But their approach, it feels more like a publicity stunt than a serious policy proposal.
Totally. And what about the impact on workers and patients if they slash regulations? Safety standards, environmental protections, those are important. It's not just about cutting costs. It's about people's lives. They seem to be missing that part.
So Trump's second term is shaping up to be something else. This cabinet, wow, Kennedy Jr. at HHS, Oz at CMS, it's like a reality TV show.
Yeah, it's a who's who of unconventional choices. Loyalty over experience seems to be the theme here, which, might not be the best approach to efficient government.
Right? And this whole mandate argument. They keep saying the American people want a shakeup. But do they want this shakeup? I'm not so sure. Skipping FBI background checks? That's a huge red flag.
Totally. And the speed? It's dizzying. They're rushing through these appointments like they're trying to avoid scrutiny, which, probably is exactly what they are doing. What about potential conflicts of interest?
Exactly. Trump's own business entanglements are still unresolved. And now you've got people with massive personal fortunes and ties to the private sector joining the cabinet. It's a recipe for, well, let's just say it's not ideal. And then there's the whole DOGE thing.
Oh, right, DOGE. Musk and Ramaswamy promising to slash regulations, cut spending. Sounds great in theory, but
the details are fuzzy. $500 billion in cuts? Where exactly are they cutting? They're targeting small programs while ignoring the larger budget issues. It feels like a publicity stunt, honestly.
Yeah, it does. And what about the impact on, actual people? Slashing regulations could mean weaker safety standards, environmental damage. It's not just about saving money. There are real consequences.
So Musk and Ramaswamy, huh? DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. Sounds ambitious.
Ambitious is one word. Radical might be another. Dismantling thousands of federal regulations, that's a lot.
Well, Musk says it's necessary. Strangulation by regulation, he calls it. U.S. heading for bankruptcy, apparently. Gotta cut the fat, you know?
Yeah, I've heard that argument before. But cutting regulations isn't just about saving money. It's about people. Clean air, safe workplaces, consumer protections, these things matter.
Sure. But Musk and Ramaswamy say it'll streamline government, reduce the workforce, cut budgets, make things more efficient.
Efficient? Maybe. But at what cost? They're talking about cutting programs that protect people from toxic pollution, ensure worker safety, prevent corporate fraud. That's not efficiency, that's dangerous.
Well, they haven't specified which regulations they're targeting. It's all very vague. Just a vast reduction, they say. $500 billion in cuts. $500 billion.
Right? $500 billion. Vague promises, huge potential consequences. And the legal hurdles, unwinding regulations isn't easy. It takes time, it takes resources. They seem to be glossing over that part.
I guess we'll have to wait and see what they actually propose. But I'm skeptical. It all feels very Trumpian, you know? Big promises, little substance.
Totally Trumpian. Remember all the deregulation during his first term? The rollbacks on environmental protections? Not exactly a stellar track record.
Yeah, well, the Trump transition team is praising Musk and his brilliant ideas. Make America great again, they say. Again.
Oh, right. Make America great again. By putting people's health and safety at risk? That's not my idea of greatness. And what about that air quality standard Biden put in place? The one that reduces soot pollution and prevents thousands of premature deaths? You think that'll survive a DOGE-led regulatory review?
Probably not. Remember Trump's promise to cut environmental regulations to help businesses? This seems to fit right in with that agenda.
Yeah, an agenda that prioritizes profits over people. And what about that heat safety rule? The one that requires workplaces to provide water and rest breaks in extreme heat? People are literally dying from heat exhaustion on the job. That's not something we should be deregulating.
So Musk and Ramaswamy, this DOGE thing, $500 billion in cuts, sounds bold.
Bold? Yeah, reckless, maybe. They're talking about gutting essential programs, public broadcasting, international aid, Planned Parenthood.
Well, they say it's unauthorized spending, not what Congress intended.
Right? But those are relatively small programs compared to, say, veterans' health care, which is also unauthorized, but they're not touching that, are they?
Good point. They're focusing on the smaller, more politically charged programs. Makes you wonder about their real motives.
Exactly. It's like they're picking and choosing based on ideology, not actual waste. And what about the legal challenges? Unwinding regulations isn't a walk in the park. It'll be tied up in courts for years.
Yeah, and remember the Grace Commission under Reagan? Thousands of recommendations, barely any implemented. This feels similar. A lot of talk, not a lot of action.
Totally. And this whole unauthorized spending argument? It's a convenient excuse to target programs they don't like. It's not a serious approach to budget reform.
I guess we'll see what happens, but I'm not holding my breath. $500 billion? It's a nice round number, good for headlines. But realistic? I'm not so sure.
Me neither. And what about the impact on people? Cutting funding for public broadcasting, international organizations, there are real-world consequences to these decisions. They seem to be ignoring that part.
So this DOGE initiative, Musk and Ramaswamy want to slash and burn the federal workforce, huh?
Yeah, mass headcount reductions, they say. Sounds drastic. But where exactly are these cuts going to come from?
Well, they're talking about streamlining agencies, relocating some out of D.C., encouraging early retirements.
Right, but most federal employees work outside of D.C. already. And what about essential services? Veterans Affairs? The military? Are they planning to cut those too?
They haven't specified, but they did mention dismantling NOAA. Weather forecasts, storm warnings, gone.
What, dismantle NOAA? That's insane. People rely on those services. It's not just about saving money, it's about public safety.
Well, they claim it's about efficiency, eliminating unnecessary functions.
Unnecessary? How is predicting hurricanes unnecessary or monitoring climate change? This is reckless.
They also want everyone back in the office 5 days a week. Apparently, federal buildings are mostly empty.
Yeah, because many federal jobs can be done remotely. Forcing people back into the office, that's not going to improve efficiency. It's just going to alienate workers.
They claim it'll lead to voluntary terminations. Basically, force people to quit.
Yeah, and lose valuable expertise. Brilliant. That's definitely the way to a more efficient government.
And this whole unauthorized spending argument, they're targeting programs like Head Start, but ignoring larger budget issues. It feels politically motivated.
Totally. They're picking and choosing based on ideology, not actual waste. And the legal challenges, unwinding all these regulations, firing thousands of workers, it'll be a mess.
Yeah. And what about the impact on people? Cutting funding for public broadcasting, international organizations, Head Start. It's not just about saving money. There are real-world consequences.
Exactly. They're so focused on cutting costs, they're completely ignoring the human element. This whole DOGE thing, it's just bad policy.
So Musk and Ramaswamy, this DOGE initiative, they want to slash the federal workforce. Huh. Big time.
Yeah, mass headcount reductions. Sounds drastic. But where are these cuts coming from exactly?
Streamlining agencies, relocating some out of D.C., early retirements. That's the plan, apparently.
But most federal employees already work outside of D.C. And essential services, Veterans Affairs, the military, what about them?
They haven't specified, but they did mention dismantling NOAA. Weather forecasts, storm warnings, gone.
Dismantle NOAA? That's insane. People rely on those services. It's about public safety, not just saving money.
Well, their argument is efficiency, eliminating unnecessary functions,
Unnecessary? Predicting hurricanes? Monitoring climate change? That's reckless.
And get this, everyone back in the office 5 days a week. Federal buildings are supposedly empty.
Because many federal jobs can be done remotely. Forcing people back? That'll just alienate workers, not improve efficiency.
Yeah, they call it encouraging voluntary terminations. Force people to quit, basically.
And lose valuable expertise. Brilliant. That's the way to a more efficient government.
So Musk and Ramaswamy, this whole DOGE thing, slashing the federal workforce. Big talk.
Yeah, mass headcount reductions. Sounds impressive, I guess. But where are these cuts actually coming from?
Well, streamlining agencies, relocating some outside of D.C., early retirements, the usual.
Right? But didn't you just say most federal employees already work outside D.C.? And what about, essential services, VA, the military? Surely they're not cutting those?
They haven't specified, but they did mention dismantling NOAA. Weather forecasts, storm warnings, gone.
Dismantling NOAA? Are you serious? People rely on those services. It's about public safety, not just saving a buck.
Well, they're framing it as efficiency, eliminating unnecessary functions.
Unnecessary? How is predicting hurricanes unnecessary or monitoring climate change? This is beyond reckless. What's next? Dismantling the CDC because disease is an unnecessary function.
And get this, everyone back in the office 5 days a week. Apparently, federal buildings are ghost towns.
Yeah, because a lot of federal jobs can be done remotely. Forcing everyone back? That's not going to boost efficiency. It's going to alienate workers, increase commute times, childcare costs. It's a step backwards.
They're calling it encouraging voluntary terminations, basically forcing people out.
And losing valuable expertise in the process. Brilliant. That's really going to make the government more efficient. And this whole unauthorized spending thing, targeting programs like Head Start but ignoring the real budget elephants in the room? Come on.
So Musk and Ramaswamy, this DOGE thing, ambitious, right? Slashing the federal workforce, cutting regulations, streamlining agencies. It's a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Andreessen seems to think it's the way to go. He was on Rogan's podcast, talking about how Musk's direct, no-nonsense approach is what the government needs. What did you get done this week? Remember that text exchange with Agrawal?
Oh, yeah. Classic Musk. Cut the dead weight, get things done. Andreessen thinks that kind of accountability could work wonders in government.
Right? He's all about cutting taxes, slashing regulations, thinks agencies like the SEC, FTC, CFPB are just strangling innovation. Musk seems to agree. He wants to delete the CFPB, apparently.
Interesting. So what, just get rid of consumer protections? Seems a bit extreme, doesn't it? I mean, the DOGE, it is supposed to make government more efficient, not like dismantle essential functions of our democracy. Cutting costs is one thing, but at what cost?
Well, Andreessen's argument is that these agencies have too much raw administrative power. They're stifling businesses, slowing down progress. He mentioned founders of his portfolio companies being targeted by these agencies. He mentioned how independent agencies don't answer to anybody.
Yeah, but there's a reason for regulations. Consumer safety, environmental protection. You can't just throw all that out the window in the name of efficiency. And, are federal buildings truly ghost towns? What about all those essential employees working on complex issues that can't just be summarized in 5-minute chunks? There needs to be a balance. There are people behind the head count.
Right? And this whole 5-minute presentation thing at XAI sounds intense. Every employee gets 5 minutes with Musk to explain what they're working on. No pressure or anything.
Yeah, no place to hide, Andreessen says. But is that really the best way to manage a workforce? Or just create a fearful atmosphere where people just want to please the boss to avoid losing their jobs? It is intense. And is that really a feasible or scalable model for government?
Good question. And this whole DOGE thing, it's still pretty vague, isn't it? We know they want to cut spending, reduce the workforce, but the details are fuzzy. $500 billion in cuts? Where exactly are they cutting?
Well, they're talking about streamlining agencies, relocating some out of D.C., early retirements, but most federal employees already work outside of D.C., right? And what about essential services? VA? The military? What's being cut?
Yeah, exactly. And remember that heat safety rule, the one that protects workers from extreme heat? People are dying out there. That's not something we should be deregulating. And the air quality stuff? Those standards prevent thousands of premature deaths. And what about consumer finance protection? Will there even be consumer finance regulations left? Surely that will all be gone, which again might be risky. There are a lot of agencies that provide important services to protect people from exploitation.
So Musk and Ramaswamy, this DOGE initiative, ambitious, right? Slashing the federal workforce, cutting regulations, streamlining agencies. It's a lot. And they're supposed to do all this in 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years. A blink of an eye in government time. Andreessen's on board, though. He was on Rogan, praising Musk's get-it-done attitude. What did you accomplish this week? Remember that Agrawal text?
Oh yeah, classic Musk. Cut the dead weight. Get things done. Andreessen thinks that'll work wonders in government. But is government really like a tech company?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? They're talking about $500 billion in cuts. $500 billion. Where's that coming from? Defense? Entitlements? They haven't really said.
They're going after unauthorized spending. Public broadcasting, international aid, the usual suspects. But those are relatively small potatoes compared to, say, defense. That's where the real money is.
Exactly. And what about the impact on people? Cutting funding for public broadcasting, international organizations, there are real-world consequences. They can't just ignore that.
Well, they're working with the OMB, apparently. Trying to find more structural reforms. And Comer's House Oversight Committee is on board, too. They're creating a subcommittee to help implement DOGE's recommendations.
Oh, really? So they're getting some official support. That's something, but it's still a huge undertaking. Resistance from entrenched interests, bureaucratic inertia, they're going to face some serious roadblocks.
For sure. And some experts are questioning whether Musk and Ramaswamy even understand how government works. It's a lot more complicated than launching rockets or, running a social media platform.
Yeah, and DOGE has no real authority. They can't force anyone to do anything. It's all persuasion, public pressure. That's a tough way to achieve meaningful change.
Plus, any major spending cuts will likely need congressional approval or even judicial intervention. It's not going to be easy.
So what's the bottom line? Can DOGE actually deliver on its promises? It's a long shot, right? 2 years, no real power, massive resistance. It's a tall order.
It is. But hey, stranger things have happened. Maybe Musk and Ramaswamy can pull it off. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. Thanks for tuning in to the DOGE Diaries, folks. We'll be back next week with more on government efficiency or the lack thereof. This is signing off. Stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay skeptical.
And this has been Catch You Next Time.